Okay, so here's what I thought of.
Peace, peace.
Peace.
It's good, everyone. Salute to the chat. Salute to everybody watching live. You are tuned in to Hip Hop Talks. I'm your host, AG. That's the homie Sean. What up?
What it do? What's good? What's good?
Welcome, everyone. Sean, you know what I'm saying, going into a holiday weekend, man. How's your day, man?
Man, busy, bro. Been up since 1:30 a.m. Central. Flew in from San Antonio to make it for the show tonight, man. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm not gonna lie, but we here. Let's have some fun, man. We here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
San Antonio, man. Did you see the ladies that Barkley be talking about out there?
Yeah, man. Bunch of biscuit bodies, man.
They was holding the churros.
Yeah, that's what Charles Barkley said. Like
double fisted the churros is crazy.
Yeah, it's the biscuit body city. That's what he said.
Crazy.
It was crazy. It was hot out there, man. It was like humid. Great. That's my second time out there. I was out there last year for some meetings, and was out there again this year for another couple of meetings. But it was okay. It was okay. It's an interesting city, man. I think the basketball team brings a lot to that city, of course, but nothing to go crazy over.
That's what's up, man. It's been hot here in West Virginia too. 90-degree weather. It's crazy. Yo, matter of fact, shout out to Busta Rhymes, man. Busta Rhymes will be here in West Virginia on Saturday. I'm not pulling up to the show, but you know, Busta Rhymes, welcome. You know, Spliff Star called in and checked in with your boy. You know what I'm saying? Everything's all good. You know, Busta Rhymes pulling up. So, but he did have something to say about how you've been talking about him on the show about his last two albums, Sean. So,
what is he doing in West Virginia? He's performing?
Yeah. We got a festival on Saturday. You know what I'm saying? So,
we got a festival in West Virginia, man.
Come on, bro. Don't do that. Right. He pulled it up, man. He don't like what you had to say about his last two albums.
So out of all the places in the world, he's coming to West Virginia for 4th of July weekend.
Right. That's the last place he could book.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. But nah, yo, he told me he was going to put you up on the Summer Jam screen.
Yeah. Yo, Busta get nasty with his fans. Lucky for me, I'm not a fan no more, but let's get nasty with his fans.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Shout out to Busta, man. Yeah, we appreciate you pulling up to West Virginia. I hope you rock the show and do the classic hits and nothing from the last couple albums.
Please. So Trifle start playing that Blockbuster. Trifle loves Blockbuster, actually.
He does, man. He loves the production on there. He loves the Sonics.
Yeah.
With that said, man, let's go into our bar seminars for the week. Sean, what do you got for yours?
Give me 1 second. I'm getting our other stuff up. Can you start yours, AG? Because I'm getting
yeah, no doubt. So I got a double header bar seminar this week. You know, I'm going with Nas Escobar. You know, y'all probably rolling your eyes like, yo, why is AG going with Nas again? Because I can. So we'll leave that there. So the first one is in honor of the classic album. It Was Written, which celebrated a 29th year anniversary yesterday. I picked the elusive Silent Murder, the first verse, for my for one of my bar seminars. That's my second favorite Nas song of all time, and we're going to get into Nas song rankings a little bit later in the show. But that's actually my second favorite Nas record of all time, behind "Take It in Blood," which is also on It Was Written. Silent Murder is just like eerie, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, Stretch killed the beat. I mean, it's just, you know, it's like Silent Murder. I hit blunts hard like Ray Mercer. Like he just blacked on that first verse, man. I love that record. And what I mean by being elusive is, you know, you could only have it in '96 on the cassette version of the album. For those of you who don't know, the CD version did not have that record on there. And then fast forward, you know, during the streaming era, it just recently got put on streaming a few years ago. You know what I'm saying? So that record for as good as it is, it's always been elusive. I remember I purchased the import CD. I think it was like a Japanese import, you know, like around 2000 or something like that, that had it on there at the end, you know, behind If I Ruled the World or whatever. And I paid, you know what I'm saying, a pretty penny for that import just to have the CD quality of that song. But my second favorite Nas song of all time.
Okay.
And for my second bar seminar, I went with WTF SMH, the second verse on the beat switch. I went with that just because of recent events. I wanted to tip my cap to, you know, the Resorts World Casino that Nas is, you know, spearheading in Queens. So, you know, the expansion, in particular the line, you know, he said 2023, I might open a casino, you know, creating jobs. Why wouldn't you be proud of Nas? So, you know, I just wanted to tip my cap at that particular bar. You know what I mean? Because what he said back then came to fruition, you know.
No doubt.
Community love, providing jobs is what he said. So, which is the casino is going to do. The expansion aspect of it is going to provide, you know, housing, you know, for the natives of Queens, and it's going to provide some job opportunities for them. So that's what I went with, man.
Good, man. Good stuff. I went with Kendrick, man. I was listening to GNX a little bit this week, coming into this week, and I actually went with Man in the Garden. I love that song first and foremost, but I was listening to Man in the Garden a lot this week, man. Through the weekend, going into the beginning of this week, I was listening to it a lot, and more so the second and last verse, the climax verse. Because a lot of times, you know, I'd be thinking, like, you and I talk a lot behind the scenes, and I'd be like, oh man, like there's a lot that I do, like a lot, you know, for my career and everything. And, you know, just even being, you know, 20 years in the Marine Corps and all the things that I've done, I'd be like, yo, I did all of this work and I got great things, you know what I mean? And I deserve it all because I work hard for it. But it's always that back in your mind, you're like, yo, God, why are you blessing me with this? You know, why are you blessing me with this? I don't do enough to receive these blessings. And not to get too biblical here, I don't want to get into all of that, but it's just that song resonated with me a lot more this week, just based on different meetings I was in, different rooms I was in, and just being able to be my authentic self in those rooms and still get what I need. And I just felt like Man in the Garden resonated with me way, way, way more. And then I started going back to listening to, of course, One Mic. And I kind of meshing those up back and forth as on my flight this morning. And I'm like, yo, why am I bugging? I do deserve it all. That's a lot of work I've done, not a commitment. You know, joining the Corps at 17 years old and, you know, doing some, you know, things in Marine Corps and all the sacrifices and everything. And my family had to go through it, me being away, and also me being away almost every week, traveling and everything as well. But I do it for them. So, yeah, I deserve it all. So that's
Great pick. Great pick. And like you said, it's a Nas One Mic interpolation record. So, you know, that shows Nas's influence. It shows his relevance in present day. You know what I mean? Calling back to one of his classic records, which, like I said, we'll get into a little bit later. But keeping it.
Yo, real quick. I see somebody Boulder 2009, Killer Priest, The Walking Life. That's what he's listening to this week. Yo.
That's dope. You know what I'm saying? You talking to a bunch of woo heads, man. So yeah, that's what's up. Killer Priest, one of them ones.
Yes, sir.
But you know, keeping it, you know, in the Nas lane, do you have any thoughts to share on It Was Written, being that it was the anniversary yesterday?
Yeah, man. I mean, again, one of my favorite albums of all time. You know, I told you before, I started listening to, I kind of leapfrog Illmatic and went to It Was Written. I processed It Was Written and went back to Illmatic, if that makes sense. Because Illmatic came out, I was like 13, 14. I had just turned 14 when Illmatic came out. It Was Written, it came out, I'm 16. So I have a better idea of music and I have a better idea what's going on. And I had to like really process It Was Written before I went back to Illmatic. It helped me understand Illmatic more. I had to listen to it in reverse. Because when everybody was telling me about Illmatic in real time, I'm like, I don't understand. It's too much. It's heavy. It's heavy. But It Was Written allowed me to really go back and appreciate Illmatic more. And I had them neck and neck for a long time, for a very long time. Neck and neck, Illmatic, It Was Written. Catch me on a good day, I would tell you It Was Written slightly edges out Illmatic, in my opinion. Illmatic is still the grail for sure. But It Was Written to me is just as potent from an MC perspective.
Absolutely, absolutely. For myself, man, I'll just say that album was different to me just because of the CD sleeve or the, you know what I'm saying, the tape cassette sleeve, you know what I'm saying, the inner jacket, because that was the first time that I could remember that all the lyrics to all the songs were written out, you know, that hence it was written, were written out in the CD jacket. And I remember being 15, you know what I'm saying, just in my room, not even with the music playing, just sitting there like reading the, you know what I'm saying, the album cover like it was required text in school, you know what I'm saying? Like it was scriptures or something, like, you know what I'm saying, trying to memorize the verses. And that was the first time I had ever did that, just like really lock in, you know what I mean? Because it's poetry. I mean, that's like, you know what I'm saying, Langston Hughes is Shakespeare, you know what I mean? So just reading all that, that he had wrote the verses on the album, you know, it's like I can see it, you know, vividly plain as day in my head from back when I was 15, just reading it over and over again. So definitely a classic album, and, you know, dope anniversary. But keeping it in Queens, Queens get the money for sure. We got some new music that dropped, and the homie Lloyd Banks, you know, keeping it all things Nas, did a freestyle over one of Hit Boy's best, the Thun beat. Sean, Queens get the money. What are your thoughts on this freestyle?
Queens definitely get the money. I forgot how dope this beat was, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I heard it and he let it breathe for a little while, I forgot how dope this beat was. And vintage Lloyd Banks. Remember when Lloyd Banks was ramping up in the early 2000s? We were like, yo, this guy's next up. Punchline King. He was one of the first, like he was like maybe that second wave of Punchline Kings. And it was him. You know what I mean? Because he was everything he was killing. Remixes, the mixtape. He was the golden child out of G Unit, straight up. 50 had the blunt, you know, the bluntness of the rhymes, but man, Lloyd Banks had everything else and more. And for him to actually come back and do this with this done beat, like, yo, man, this is a perfect marriage. Perfect marriage. Shout out to Lloyd Banks, man. Lloyd Banks is on the road this year. And I don't think we're talking about him enough. He dropped a phenomenal album. He's still doing his thing. And now we got this. We got a freestyle over the thumb beat.
Yeah, Banks' album is still my album of the year so far. I still have that ranked number one. That may change here soon, but I still have that ranked one. And he killed this freestyle. To your point about being a punchline king, he has a dope line in it. I think he said something like, "You waiting on the punches, but I never telegraph it." So, like, you know, that was fly. You know what I'm saying? So, he did the beat justice. Like I said, you know, it just sounds like Queens, you know what I mean? Got the train track squeaking on there, so it's screeching. So, I mean, dope freestyle. It's appropriate. I'm glad Banks hopped on it, and hopefully we'll hear more to come. You know what I'm saying? For as much as I love his album, I would love for Banks to release another mixtape in this vein, just killing, you know, all kind of beats. You know what I mean? That's
I think we need that. I think we need a Banks. I think we need another Banks
for
mixtape.
sure.
Yeah,
for
like,
sure.
I'm talking about rapping over other beats, over the hottest beats of, you know, for 2020 to 2025 or whatever. I think we need that, bro. Straight up.
Definitely need it. Banks is arguably a top 3 lyricist in the game right now. Like he's really doing his thing.
For sure. Yo, we got some super chats.
Yo, Peace Deal Magic. Appreciate you with the $10 super chat. He says, "Evening, guys. Happy Thursday. Somebody on Twitter said that Kendrick needs to start collaborating with lyrical MCs. Do you guys agree?" I think you want to take that first, Sean?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Kendrick needs to just start collaborating more in general. I actually had this, oddly enough, this conversation this morning with one of my homies, and he was bringing up how, you know, you would think that Kendrick would be more collaborative, especially with his TDE mates. Like we was talking about posse cuts, and he was talking about, you would think there would be more TDE posse cuts out there, you know what I mean, for, you know, consumption, and what that would do for the game right now. But Kendrick, he's really not collaborative. Like, you know, he's been put in the GOAT talks recently, but if you're going by every person's portfolio, you know what I'm saying, if, say for instance, if it's a job application and you got your different sections of your job application, right? He would be a little thin in the section, you know, where it says features. I mean, he has notable features, don't get me wrong, but his contemporaries that he's mentioned with now, you know what I mean? Because people are putting up there with the Jays, the Nas, the Bigs and Pocs of the world, you know what I mean? So they have the features in spades, you know what I'm saying? So I think that that's one thing personally I would like to see Kendrick work on myself. But when he does get in the booth, like on this Clipse record and Nostalgia, when he's on there with another dope MC, he understands the assignment. So yeah, he steps it up and shows what he's capable of, you know.
No, I agree with you 1,000%. He definitely needs to. I mean, but he's having a great year over year. You know what I mean? So does he really need it? Yeah, it'd be nice, but I don't think he really needs it. He's having a phenomenal year. Everything he's touching right now is turning to gold. He's about to pull up on his Clipse album, so he has a feature there. So we're going to see what he does on that. I think Kendrick, whatever Kendrick do, man, he can do what he want to do at this point. Everything is moving good for him regardless. So yeah.
Okay. So
great.
So while we're on the subject of Kendrick, let's shift gears a little bit.
Another super chat.
Oh, okay, my bad. Yo, appreciate you again. It Magic with the $5 super chat. What features does Kendrick need to demonstrate that he can still outperform or equally perform with other lyrical rappers? I mean, none in particular. We know he can perform on those tracks. It's just not a high quantity of those moments. I mean, when Kendrick, when you refer to Kendrick's feature verses, people tend to pull out the same few, like, you know what I mean? The Nostalgias of the world, the Control verse or whatever. Like if he had more of those in his wheelhouse that he could bring to the table, like Sean said, he don't necessarily need it, but that would strengthen his claim more for, top 5 status or, whatever.
I can see that because now we talk about the Nas feature run. We talk about the Jay feature run. We talk about some of the legends feature run, even big, phenomenal feature run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hell, 2 Chainz is, in my opinion, probably a top 10. Kiss My Arm, I get him closer to 5 feature run as an MC because his feature run was ridiculous.
One of my favorites.
One of my favorites. Yeah, he had like a pocket where he was killing everything feature wise. So yeah, I mean, from that perspective, yes, maybe Kenny can do something like that to have a strong feature run. But again, he's making so good right now, just doing what he's doing. Like he can go on a track and sneeze right now in his goal, like straight up and down. And I don't mean that tongue in cheek, pause. I mean that like that's how much on fire he's on right now. He's like really on fuego right now. So this would be the great time, now I'm thinking about it in real time. This might be the great time to do a couple of features to like, continue that momentum that he has going on from last year into this year.
Yeah. I mean, you don't realize how much, if you have a dope feature, how much that does for your catalog. I mean, he has the albums in spades. Like that's no secret. Absolutely. But when I was at his concert with SZA in Charlotte, the joint that rang off the most was the Baby King joint. You know what I'm saying? Family Ties. When Family Ties dropped and he did his verse from that, like that was the most lit. It was more lit than Not Like Us or any of them joints. I'm telling you, like, so, and that feature verse, I mean, it's dope, but it's not like something that is like one of them ones. You know what I mean? So if he did something like that more on notable artist records, I mean, he moved further up on the ranks, in my opinion.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great question. Magic, for real. Appreciate you.
Sure. But speaking of Kendrick, we got some more new music from an artist that a lot of people compare to Kendrick a lot, and that's JID. Yeah. And that's my personal gripe about JID. I think JID is one of the best spitters that the game has right now currently. But he's so similar to Kendrick, it's hard for me to separate that. Like if I want that aesthetic, I'd rather go to Kendrick. I hear people on Twitter calling him Kendrick Light. You know what I mean? But JID, he smoked these couple new tracks. Let's get into the 32 freestyle. First of all, just to release a video of your high school football highlights for one of your tracks is a dope concept. You know what I mean? That's pretty fire. He smoked this, Sean. What did you think?
Yeah, he did. Out of the 2 joints that he did, I'm be honest. I like the other one better than this one. I'm be honest. I think this one is dope. He
Mm-hmm.
got off on it, but again, it's like I think the other one is better.
Right.
Straight up. This one is pretty dope. Don't get me wrong. It's a long freestyle. It's a long freestyle. I find myself watching a highlight of the actual video more so than what he was saying.
I like what he did with that.
Yeah, that was dope. That was dope. The highlight was dope. And to do
I feel like you should do the same. I mean, you talked on this pod a lot about your basketball career overseas. So I feel like we need a Sean rap track with his basketball highlights in the background. Like, you know what I'm saying? JID gave you the blueprint. I think you need to follow up with that. What do you think?
I'm not doing this tonight, man. Not doing this.
I mean, it's just a suggestion, man. I mean, it's right there for you.
I don't have no props. I wasn't prepared for that. I don't have no props on me. So medals. I have my medals on you right now. I got some basketball somewhere around here, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah.
Sean, see, MJ and Sean was in Japan holding up the Japanese flag like he was, you know what I'm saying?
That's great. Joint.
Yeah, but his other joint, Boo, God Don't Like Ugly, the Prelux. Yeah. I actually like the 32 freestyle better, but speak to this one, Sean. What did you like better about this joint?
I like this one. I love the beat first and foremost. I wish they didn't change the beat though. I wish they would have kept with the first beat. I wish that would have maintained because I felt like he was riding that beat. Pause. He was like all over that beat. And that was the one that I wanted to hear more from him on that actual beat. But the beat change threw me off just a little bit, but I still think he killed it. I like this one because it's more controlled. To me, it's more controlled. So I felt like the other one, 32 freestyle, is just like, it's a marathon. You're sprinting. But this one, it's more controlled. He's like really controlling the pocket. I love the beat.
It sounds more like a record, right?
Yeah, it feels more natural. More. So yeah, I like that one better than like 32.
So with these two records, and then last week we had Bodies, do you think we're seeing the JID rollout to his album?
Man, his rollout is, of course, you know, the Clipse has the best rollout of the decade, first and foremost. JID rollout it feels like it's a net break rollout, man. Like it's coming at us like quick pause. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm be honest with you, and I told you this before. I'm not the biggest JID fan. So I can't say that I'm like excited or anticipating the album. Of course, I think JID is dope. I think he's underrated. I don't think he gets talked about enough. So I'm looking forward to it in that aspect. But like, am I like anticipating it? Like, yo, I can't wait till that JID drop. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to cap and say that. But I will listen to it, of course. But my focus right now is on Clipse. Be honest with you.
Yeah. He makes great albums, though, so whatever he puts out, I'm sure it'll be dope.
Yeah.
Just for younger cats in the game, who you got, JID or Joey Badass?
Joey.
You got Joey? Okay.
Yeah, Joey.
I'm not mad at that, but JID gets busy, though.
Yeah, it's not by a large margin at all. But,
yeah.
But Joey has a little bit more cachet for me.
For sure. Yeah, Joey got to drop, man. He got to keep that momentum going that he had.
Yeah, he got to drop, man. He can't let that go. Because now we're not talking about as much as he did. It's starting to kind of, evaporate. Sure. You got to be careful about that.
Yeah, tell Jim Jones to mention Joey. So keep his name out there. So we got a new a couple new Benny the Butcher records. Let's get to this first one, Summer 25, which should be on Summertime Butch 2, the sequel to his first project, Summertime Butch, and that's supposed to drop on the 16th. So y'all look out for that. What do you think about Summer 25?
Yo, first of all, Mad Max is crazy.
What's up, Max?
Dude is diabolical, man. He doesn't stop.
He is.
Summer 25. I'm gonna say this, bro, and straight up, I mean this like with all due respect. Shout out to LT. Shout out to Benny, of course. I mean this with all due respect. I think that Griselda, they got to put something out as a collective.
It's been way too long since WWCD. Yeah.
I think Griselda has to reset. I think it has to reset and relaunch, if you will, before we hear anything else from Benny or from even Conway or from Westside. I really think they have to pull together and put together a strong effort with Stove God on there, with all of the camp on there in some capacity, And
I
then
need a Dope God solo first, though.
you know what? I do, but based off of what we know in his situation, we're not going to get that. So realistically, I would love to hear him all over a Griselda album, group album, and just have him kill it. Let him get it off. You know what I mean? And then we can start getting more Benny, and then we can get some Conway, then we can get some West Side in a whole different realm. Because I do think that at this point, they're putting a lot of material, and we love it, right? For the most part. But I think it's time for them to reassemble and reestablish and start coming back again like they did before. Because I do think that they're losing a little bit of that Griselda anticipation now, because we haven't
They're stronger as a unit.
Right. I think we need that at this point, just for them to kind of recollect and then redistribute, you know?
And WWCD was 27, was it 17 or 18?
I think it was, man, it might be 18.
Yeah, maybe. It's been way too long.
Your chat, let us know. When was the last Griselda album? Was it 18 or 17? I think it was 18.
It's been less years between Wu albums than that, man. Like,
right.
That's crazy. So, I like this Summer 25 joint. You could tell it's real recent because he mentioned, you know what I'm saying, OKC winning the chip. Right. So, I think he got busy on there. I'm looking forward to Summertime Butch when it drops, Summertime Butch 2, because I like the first one when it dropped. It was one of the better projects that year. So, I'm looking forward to it. But he also was on a track called Position of Power, where, you know, he had some bars for Freddie Gibbs, which that's been brewing for a while now. But he got on his IG and denied the allegations that there were any bars on there for Freddie Gibbs and that he wasn't dissing them. So what do you have to say to that, Sean? Do you think he was capping, or do you think he really wasn't dissing Freddie on the record?
I mean, we kind of got to go off what he's saying. You know what I mean? Who's to say he's not? Who's to say he is at this point, bro? Like, if you're going to look, at the end of the day, we know what's going on with them. We know that they got smoke for each other. There's no love lost there at all.
Yeah, Freddie had bars for him on You Only Die Once on anniversary.
Right.
Yeah, bars have been
right. Which is one of my favorite joints.
Lit him up.
I don't know. They took it off because I think they didn't get the clearance.
Sample.
That was my favorite joints off that album.
Yeah, because I remember you texted me. You was at the gym, and you was like, "Yo, this is what Freddie doing." It's because you was a Freddie hater for a little while, but
I was not a hater. I just didn't see what you and Cook saw. I was on the fence. I was on the fence, and then my man gave me some wisdom today on Freddie Gibbs, so I would keep that to myself though. Shout out to my mans in them who gave me the scoop on Freddie. He's watching the show right now. Shout out to my man. But now, if they're gonna do this, man, Paul's like, let's go straight into it, man. Get to it. Let's stop.
Yeah, do it with the bars. No social media stuff, none of that. Like that they did in the past. Just keep it to the bars.
No goofy stuff. Just keep it to the bars and go straight to it. Yeah. But shout out to Freddie though. I'm a believer now. I'm a believer. Yeah.
That's what's up, man. So moving on to some news, right? You got on the Park Hill shirt. You got on the Park Hill fatigue hat. So some good news came our way. We got the chef, Raekwon, dropping his new project, The Emperor's New Clothes, on the 18th.
Yes.
And to get into some specifics of the album, features that's listed are supposed to include Nas, Ghostface, Method Man, Inspector Deck, and we mentioned Griselda earlier. It's supposed to have West Side Gun, Benny, and Conway all on the album, with production from listed Swiss Beats, Knots, and the Justice League. And as a press release, it was no mention of Rizzo on production. Don't know if that's if he doesn't have any at all, but he wasn't mentioned in the press release. What's your thoughts on that, Sean?
I know Trife. It goes down a notch for Trife hearing Swizz on it.
Right.
So we're going to get we don't have a West Side track on it, like a West Side production on it. It's not.
Yeah, he's on the West Side is on the album,
but he's not listed as a producer on the album.
No.
Okay, that's my biggest thing right now, right? Pause.
The production?
Production.
Okay.
Production. Ray's voice is still immaculate.
It is.
All these years, 30 plus years later, his voice sounds great. Ray's voice never had to evolve. We talk about the evolution of certain artists where they never had to evolve. Ray is one of them. He's one of not many that never had to evolve. Still has one of the dopest flows, one of the dopest voices in hip hop, in my opinion. Right? Still that fly talk, luxury talk. I'm not worried about that part of it. I'm worried about the direction and the production, because the things I felt like may have stifled Ray just a little bit, and I mean this respectfully because I love Ray, I love Wu, but I think when we talk about immobility, when we talk about what the joint, the Wow, when we talk about the Lex Diamond story, those albums like that, they're not bad, but they don't come up to the Ray standard. Bro.
The Wild's underrated to me, bro.
Is underrated. It's very underrated, but no one, because again, when you think about Ray and you think about how great, and this is also the dichotomy to RZA, because we love the Purple Tape, and it's hard to measure up to the Purple Tape, and I don't think we say it out loud because you know how everybody compare everything to Illmatic.
For sure,
we compare everything to the Purple Tape as well, because it's that great. We don't say it out loud. It's not as loud and as booming as we compare, to Illmatic, but the Purple Tape is so immaculate that we're still looking for that. Yeah. Now, Cuban Links 2 was close. It was close. It was a great, a great part 2, right? A great, because you talked about this before. Like it gotta be great and it gotta make sense. And that was a good album to have that name attached to it, but in our reality, the other ones don't measure up to it at all. And the biggest thing was direction and production, because you don't have RZA all over that. You don't have RZA, at least executive producer like he did with Supreme Clientele, where he probably produced a lot of the songs on the album, but RZA's influence was on the album. He doesn't have to like really produce the songs. I feel like he should be able to give the direction to the album, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it nonetheless.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
I'm excited for it, definitely.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. How do you feel about Ray being up second in the Legend Has It campaign in the rollout after Slick Rick?
I can dig it. It makes sense because there's connective tissue with Slick Rick and Ray. If you think about it, like, there's some connective tissue there. Ray kind of, adopted that fly style from Rick as well. The chains, the wallabies, what I mean? Like just that whole style and grace that he has, storytelling and just being a cool dude, just being one of the cool guys. That's all Rick right there. That's all the Rick influence. So it makes sense for me, if I'm thinking strategically, it makes sense to start there and then go here with Ray. Because that's a smooth transition.
Okay.
It's not too overt. I think it's just a smooth transition. It's like a build up. The question would be,
so with that line of thinking, I would hope that Ghost would be third.
That's what I'm saying. With that being said, that third one have to be a little bit more, let's go. Now we're getting here, because Ghost, the flip side to that coin with Ghost is a little bit more animated. Right? Still storytelling, but he's animated. He's more loud. He's more in your face. Ray's more laid back. Slick Rick laid back. But Ghost's introduction into this Ray album can be the catalyst that springboard his album as the third entry of the Mass Appeal joint.
That's dope.
If I'm thinking strategically behind it.
Right. And Ghost is confirmed for this album. So I think I said a couple pods ago, like, I'm cool long as both are somewhat heavily involved in the other's album. Like if this has about least maybe, I hope Ghost is just not on one joint. I hope he's on probably like 3 joints or something like that. And then when Ghost album come around, I hope Ray is on probably about 3 joints. You know what I'm saying? I think that would be perfect. It would only be right to give us that same feeling, And, you was talking about the strategy of it all. we'll be 2 for 2 on Nas features, right? Out of this rollout, because he was on Slick Rick's album on Documents, and then now he's on Raekwon's Emperor New Clothes. So what it's looking like, we'll see. I'm thinking that part of Nas and Preem's rollout would be him being featured on all 7 albums, well, the other 6 albums that come out. I don't, know for sure, but it seems to be the trend. And that would be, we talked about feature runs, Kendrick, if he went on a feature run. And if it's all leading up to the Nas and Preem, and then we had a Nas feature verse on every other project, on the, the Ray, the Ghost, the De La, the Mobb Deep. Well, we know for sure, I think he's on the Mobb Deep album, but, the De La Soul joint and then the Big L joint, I think that's good pub for his album. What do you think?
No, I agree. Because I do think that, again, we talk about the feature run. What if we get a crazy Nas feature run in 2025? With him
might be the last one we see.
The last one we see with him at the helm. Not to forget the Clipse joint, right? And anything else that's to come. And he closed it out with him and Primo in the winter. That's a winter album. That's a fall winter album.
Timberland boot album.
And boot album, exactly.
Carhartt jacket.
Fatigues, Carhartt, yes. So
sure.
Let's see where it takes us.
Yep. Now, since we're talking about some of the OGs with the Legend Has It campaign, we got another rumor in the rumor mill from All Hip Hop that it's a group coming called Mount Rushmore, which will consist of Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, Cool G Rap, and KRS-One. That's forming like Voltron and coming together a la Slaughterhouse, right? What would you think about that, man? If this rumor pans out to be true, what do you think would that album sound like in 2025?
Interesting. I mean, you got legends all coming together. I'll be, again, go back to production. What are they rhyming over?
I hope Rakim is not producing the album. That's all I got to say.
I didn't want to say that, but you said it.
Yeah. Don't give Rakim production duties.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It goes back to the production. Like, what does the production look like in 2025 for these legends, for these celestials of hip hop?
Celestials, word.
That's the thing for me, because we talked about that Rakim album. It was underwhelming. It really was. Rakim still sounds great, but the production is very important, and direction is very important. So I don't know what we're going to get with this. If it's true, if it pans out, I am curious. It's going to be interesting. So I don't know.
Would it be fair to say that all 4 of these gentlemen are top 15 to 20 all time?
Absolutely. They're the pillars.
Right.
The foundation of hip hop. I mean,
I think in 2025, the biggest part of that is, I think it would be a genius idea because, like, once again, using Slaughterhouse as the example, those guys were all guys that did dirty by the record industry. So they decided to form a group because they were better as a unit than they were individually, right?
Yeah.
These guys are the pillars, but if KRS, Rakim, BDK, Cool G Rap, if any of them drop a project in 2025, let's be real about it. It's not going to get, an adequate amount of love. If it's good, truth be told, we wasn't feeling the Rakim album, but if it's good, even if it was a great album, it won't get the love it probably deserves, right? Sure. But them joining forces, putting their powers together, that gets more eyes on them even before the album drop. It gets people talking. You know what I mean? So I think it'll be a smart move if this ends up being true, because this is better than what any of them could do individually. You know what I'm saying? Is them present day sharing mic time.
Right. You're talking about
when legends are thriving, right?
Absolutely. You're talking about the forefathers. You're talking about those who actually had a reign in hip hop. You know what I mean? Some overlap there, some overlap of their reign. I just hope that the window of opportunity is not closed in a situation like this. That's my only thing, because I love all of them. I love all of them, and I will hope that they can get their just due and it's right justice behind it. And that's why it worries me sometimes, because the public is unforgiving. No matter, they disrespect the legends every day. Legends are getting disrespected every day.
Right.
And you know what I mean? So I would hate to see that happen, with the legends. So if it happens, hope it's like a nice EP, something that we can, as hip
Yeah.
hop,
Not too many tracks.
many tracks. It don't have to be a lot on there, but just a nice little LP, something to remind people like, yo, we still got it. We still, we still nice with the pen. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what happens.
Before we get out this topic, just hypothetically, those four, if they make an album, who do you think is the sharpest current present day right now?
Man, it's crazy because I met got one you don't like the most, KRS.
I'm going Cool G Rap.
G Rap, Corona Queen, stand up. G Rap is one of them. But KRS one, KRS is one of the ones, man. Like he's always
No doubt. Yeah.
He's always writing. Always
I
writing.
just don't like KRS One in interviews. So if they drop an album, I hope he don't do no press for it.
We might be having something lined up with KRS One, right? You know that, right? You do know that, right? I don't know if you knew that.
Nah, man.
I'm texting you the thing, man. What are you talking about? Yo, shout out to KRS One.
All right, man. But yeah. So moving on. So new releases, right? It's speculated that Travis Scott is going to put out Jack Boys 2. It's a wild title. Jack Boys 2 compilation on the same day as the Clipse. Now, if we talking numbers game, Travis Scott, his name holds a lot of weight and he's going to move numbers. And but me personally, I don't think this will affect the Clipse too much, because Travis Scott's fan base, I don't think are like going to be checking for the Clipse. I think that's two separate, lanes. So I don't think one will really affect the other. But do you think that this is Travis being petty, or do you think this is always been the intended release date?
I think both things can be true. I really do. I think this could have been a targeted date. I think with the things as kind of the situation they had a couple of weeks ago, a week ago, I think that kind of made it, confirm for them to do that. Again, these guys have two different audiences,
Right?
Right. I don't know how much this could impact the Clipse. I think Clipse marketing, again, I said many times, have the best rollout that I've seen in over a decade, easily. Maybe longer than that. So I'm hoping that all of that pays off, from a sound scan perspective, from a streaming perspective. Travis does a lot of bundles, where he put a bundle as part of this package, because that changes the game. When you put that bundle in there, the numbers look a little bit different. You know what I mean?
His merch always sells.
It's always selling. Even that first week is going to be ridiculous if he has a bundle to it. The second week, that's when he see a big drop off, a big rollback from it. But as far as like going head to head, they got two different audiences. But I don't think, if Travis is in that mindset, I don't think he cares. I think he just want to say, I upped the ante and I came in at this number, you came in at this number, ha ha ha. And I really don't think that. Again, I don't like the numbers game. I like the numbers game. I never like the streaming game, because I don't think numbers and streaming really tells the whole story of this album being better than this album. It's all about the consumption, the consumer. You know what I mean? The consumer is going to get what they want, but that doesn't, to me, I've always felt that didn't tell the whole picture of the album itself. You know what I mean? There's so many albums out there that barely went gold that we consider classics. Straight up.
That's a fact. It was a shift where the numbers mattered more so than anything, but we don't recall what Midnight Marauder sold, or nobody knows those numbers, or even the Chronic. Nobody can really rattle off those numbers with us. So we don't even care, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. But late 90s, early 2000 era, where rap became a big business, and how many records you sell was a determining factor, and how dope the album was. But That's what blurs the line between, we spoke to many times on this show, classic moment versus classic album. You know what I mean? It's a lot of albums that sold a lot of records that don't have classic material on it, but they moved a lot of units. You know what I'm saying? So you got to tip your hat to it, because there's a lot of people out there that liked it. But it begs the question, if these other albums are so classic quality wise, then why aren't as many people listening to it? So it's an interesting dichotomy conversation, you know?
Yo, we got a super chat too, bro. Almost missed it.
Yo, appreciate you, Ill Magic, with another super chat. He said, I saw Pusha T saying that Dot wanted to get on 2 songs on the Clipse album. Do you guys think that could be So Be It Part 2? Appreciate the super chat, because that's actually where we was going next in our conversation. So the Clipse released the track list for the album. And one peculiar note in the track listing, they don't have So Be It listed in the track listing, which has been released about a little over a week ago, going on 2 weeks. But they have So Be It Part 2, which is interesting. What are your thoughts on that, Sean?
Man, again, rollout. I love it. I love the first So Be It, though. So that first So Be It is crazy. I'm not gonna lie. But this one reminds me of G.O.D. Part 3 from Mobb Deep, from Hell on Earth, right? I think they actually, isn't it a sample? Didn't they sample it all the way through, or just like a rendition?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So to get into that, the So Be It Part 2 does sample the scene from Scarface, which is sampled on G.O.D. Part 3. But I'm gonna let you go first. But I have a theory.
I think this beat sounds like something that Jay would jump on. When the beat started fading out and you think it's over, then it comes right back up, and here you got Jay coming out of nowhere, killing the beat like this. You'll see something like this out of nowhere.
Come on, dog. Like,
come on. My bad.
But come on, dog. Don't do that.
I think with this beat, yo, Mad Max said, "Come on, Godfather Part." Yes, God Part 3. That's where that beat. That's like an ode to that beat. But I think this is one of those beats, honestly, that Jay might be the hidden. If Jay is the hidden feature, if he's on here, I think this would be the one. Because what happens if that beat fades out and then all of a sudden you see this? What do you do?
You dirty, man. I swear you dirty.
I can't stop it.
You can't stand Jay.
I can't stop it, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry. My bad, Hov.
But nah, I'm with that. I'm on the conspiracy train. Here's why. And this, something like this was actually commonplace, back in the 90s. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Dead Presidents 2 is what's on Reasonable Doubt, not the first version of Dead Presidents, which had a video, right? So this would be in the same vein. So Be It Part 1, which we didn't know was Part 1 at the time, has a video. And that version might not be on the album as much as we love it. So it might be this Part 2. But to your point, here's my theory. I think we get So Be It as we know it to be. And then we get, with the Travis bars at the end. And then I think we get a beat switch that switches over to the, the Mobb Deep joint, the G.O.D. Part 3. Yeah. And I think Jay is going to be a hidden feature on there. Now, what I do hope, if that's the case, I hope it's not another God did 36 bar verse and none of that, because that's kind of contrived at this point. Like, just give us, a dope 16, 20, whatever. And, because it's like, you're not going to drop an album, so you don't have to do an extra long verse to make up for it, just to kind of like, you know what I mean? Don't be that guy. You did it once. Don't go back to that well. But I do hope he is the surprise feature on there, because hearing Jay rhyme over that, that Mobb Deep sample joint would be fire. But I do think it's a beat switch situation that we get the regular version of So Be It, and then Part 2 is what switches over to the sample, the G.O.D. sample. Now, they played this record at a fashion show. Now, what I will say is it was no bars on it. They was just saying, like, the hook, so be it over that. So we don't know, it was just like empty space, right? And during the fashion show, I can't confirm this to be true, but Jay-Z was there with Beyonce and the Clipse were there. And when the beat came on, Pusha T saluted somebody across, the crowd, saluted somebody and pointed at him like that. And, speculation that like,
I'll do this, man.
He could have been pointing at Jay like, yo, did you kill this shit? You know what I'm saying? So I do think that he will be a hidden feature on this record. And they just haven't revealed it yet. But this rollout is immaculate. Also, something else to note. They pressed up the physical copies early, right?
Yeah.
The physical vinyls, the CDs, everything they pressed up does not have So Be It Part 2 on there. And it does not have POV featuring Tyler Creator. So we are in the digital streaming age. So I think the Tyler record was done late in the game, and then the So Be It Part 2 was done late in the game as well. Tyler might have been the feature that they've been waiting on this whole time. I don't know. But those two are not on physical copies because they're last minute additions to the album. So don't be surprised if you don't hear those records. Like I stated earlier in the episode about Silent Murder being elusive. It was only on the tape, not on the CD or whatever. So this is one of them situations. If you spent money pre-ordering the Clipse vinyl, you're not going to have So Be It Part 2 or POV on there, just so you know if you didn't know that already.
Yeah. I mean, look, Jay has a lot. I think he has a lot to address. I think there's a lot that he can address straight up and down. What I would like to hear him on this, it makes sense. I don't know, AG. I'm still 50-50. If he's not on here, I would not be surprised. I'll be more surprised if he's on here. I'll be honest with you. It makes sense. There's a lot of connective tissue there. You got Pharrell and his relationship and their history. You got him and Pusha. They got their history. He's right now, Rock Nation. They're on Rock Nation. I mean, all of these things are there. Like everything.
You don't not ask for a J verse being on Rock Nation.
Right? You don't. But at the same time, if you tap that well before, then you go back and draw water from that same well. I don't know. And it makes sense. The thing about it makes too much sense. It makes too much sense. So that's why it's like one of those things where, are we going to get it because it makes too much sense? I don't know. I just don't know. It all lies.
But do you think from Jay's vantage point, right, that he looks at, because this is a moment, like they've done excellent with the rollout. So shout out to Rock Nation, Def Jam, you dropped the ball, right?
Yeah.
He hears the Kendrick feature verse. Fire. Here's the Nas feature verse. Fire.
Yeah.
Stove God is on there. You know what I'm saying? Tyler's on there. Jay's a competitive guy. And this is a moment album. This is a moment album. They're releasing the album courtesy of your label, your distribution label, Rock Nation, right?
No doubt.
You have to get on this record. You know what I'm saying? It's a moment. And you got the benefit of hearing all those other records. So you can sharpen your sword before you even go in the booth. Like, okay, I see what Nas did. I see what Kendrick did. You know what I'm saying? So you got the benefit of coming, after those guys. And I think competitive version of Jay's gonna hop on this record, and we're gonna get a really dope verse from him. But if it doesn't happen, then am I upset? No, but I don't see the point in teasing So Be It Part 2 like that.
Yeah.
For no particular reason, unless it's a sample clearance issue. Now that's the other side of things that's less fun to talk about. So if it's an issue that So Be It Part 1, the sample couldn't get cleared in order to be on there, and then they had to go with another beat to go with Part 2 to be on the album, that's a possibility as well, but that's just not as fun to talk about, right?
No doubt. Yeah, we got a super chat. Double. Did I say 50, not 5? I need it.
Yo, shout out to Dub, man. What up, bro?
Right. 50, not 5, bro. That makes sense. I'm scared.
He said he's excited for the Clipse in the Ray. I doubt Jay is on the album. I swear I said 50 on my side, y'all. Scam me. What's up, chat? Like, sub, and enjoy. Yo, we appreciate you, man. Super chatting to give an ad for us. But yo, I want to ask you something, bro.
Yo.
So I was looking at the chat. I was looking at the track list earlier, and I posted in our Discord. Shout out to Iran, because Iran is like super strict on 1 and 3 verses. He want to take it back to 97. Like 3 verses on a record, 4-minute songs. He's all about that. So I'm looking at these features, and Pharrell is on 4 joints, bro, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they got Ab Lava, they got Nas, Kendrick, Tyler. I think a lot of these features are there to provide the 3rd verse on some of these records. So I want to ask you, like, and Pharrell has rapped with the Clipse a lot before, so this is not new territory, but I don't know if I like Pharrell rapping on 3 to 4 joints on this album just to supply a 3rd verse. I'd rather them just go 2 verses and leave it as is if Pharrell rapping on all these joints.
But what if it's just Pharrell doing the hook? What if it's just him doing?
I don't think so, man. I don't think it's that. I think Pharrell really rapping on this joint, but I could be wrong. But it's a drop off in lyricism to the point where I don't know.
I think it's more hook play. I think that's more hook play or more ad-lib play, to be quite
honest. Well, I hope Pusha writing his verses though.
Yeah, no, for real. No, I think it's more hook play. I think that's, again, I saw that too, man. I was just thinking about it as well. I think that's more hook play. I think that's anything major.
All right. Well, another thing I forgot to mention when we was talking about Travis, since we're talking about somebody writing somebody else's rhymes, it's known that that Travis get his rhymes written by Saha, the Prince, right?
Mm-hmm.
That creates an interesting situation because, you know what I'm saying, Saha and Pusha were in the same camp together under Good Music.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there's, I'm not sure, but would like to think that they're still cool. So if Travis gets back at Pusha T on there, do you think that Saha pins that verse?
I think it's business is business. Pay the bills.
Okay.
Good music is done. Good music been done for a long time now.
Yeah.
You got to pay the bills. I don't think it stops anything, bro.
Fair enough.
No.
Fair enough. But yeah, more on the Clipse. So they did Crazy Rollout. They did an interview. It's a Spotify interview. Actually, Jerry Lorenzo conducted the interview, which is crazy marketing. If you don't know Jerry Lorenzo, he is the owner, founder, designer of Fear of God, the clothing line, right? So you see the connection there. Fear of God, Clipse, let God sort them out, right? You see that connective tissue.
Yeah.
This rollout is crazy. So he interviewed them, and if you have Spotify, the interview's on there. You can go watch it. It's roughly about a half hour long. Super dope interview, man. And tying in the fashion of it all, because Clipse are heavily involved in the fashion world.
Absolutely.
So I thought it was, a good interview to talk about both the connection between music and fashion. And what did you think about the interview?
I love it, man, because again, this rollout. We keep talking about this rollout. This is another fragment of what they're doing, because you think about the last interview they had, it was more personable. Talking about each other's journey. They're talking about Malice and Push was talking about brotherhood, growing up together, having each other back and giving each other space. Malice is talking about his departure from the group. So that was more personable. That was more like, kneecap to kneecap. We're telling you exactly what's going on.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Kneecap to kneecap.
Yeah, that's kind of wild.
That's a military thing, I guess. I don't know. It's like, you're having a conversation. You got to grow up, G. You got to grow outside West Virginia, man. I'm trying to take you out of West Virginia when we on here. I want you to get outside of that, man. Out of West Virginia state of mind.
I'll stay right in West Virginia if you touch a kneecap, so everybody out there.
Yeah, you having an intimate
conversation. You was in San Antonio, kneecap to kneecap with Wimby. Is that what you telling me? His way up here, your kneecaps down here touching his.
It's crazy. It's going too far now. You're going too far.
I'm sorry, my bad. Continue going.
Virginia though. But you got to be able to have that intimacy when you have those conversations, because those are very unique conversations, and it cannot be in a fashion where it's tongue in cheek, if you will, right? Pause. Because that interview that they had then, that was a very personable interview. So now you got this.
Right.
Now you're diving into the fashion side of things. Now you're diving into like the other side that Push started getting more into, because he's introduced to it by Pharrell. Pharrell is like a fashion, aficionado, right? So he's putting Pusha on a whole different climate. He's doing walkways, runways, and Louis Vuitton. They're doing a whole different thing now. So now you bring all of this together. You're talking about the upscale. You're talking about the personal stuff. You're talking about the past. You're talking about the present. You're talking about where they are, where they're going, the inception of the projects. All these things are coming full circle, man. And the interviews, to me, they're so concise and they're so intentional that it makes perfect sense for this type of rollout, because this is a massive rollout for these two, because they're coming back together after so many years.
It's a big deal. 2009 was the last project.
And they're reminding people of who they are. They're reminding people who wasn't familiar, because again, 2009 to 2025, that's a whole generation, bro. If you think about it, that's another generation. Like, how old was your son in 2009?
2.
18. Yeah. He's a man now. Yeah. So that's a big gap. Think about what AG was doing back in 2009 versus what he's doing now in West Virginia in 2025. Right. Totally different. Totally different.
I was still great.
It's the whole totally different animal. So now things have changed. So now they're reminding people who they are as a brand, and also exploring where they are going as a new brand. I did. Right.
They laid the breadcrumbs, to show that they were eventually going to get to this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you go back to the Jesus is King record, I think that was the first record that they were on together since 2009 on Kanye's album. But, a lot of people didn't tap into that album, that Kanye put out. And then on the Nego album, the compilation that Nego put out is fire record on there called Punch Bowl.
Yep.
Pusha T and Malice on there is the Clipse. Yep. And then fast forward to It's Almost Dry, Malice has arguably the best verse on that album, rhyming alongside his brother. So we had 3 joints leading to this moment, and we knew, and they did, I think, a couple shows too, leading to this moment where it was going to be a big reunion. So this is a major moment for them, like you said, not only from the music side of it, from the personal side as brothers. You know what I'm saying? So it's a big deal. And you also mentioned the interview being real concise and to the point, right? But there also was outtakes from the interview that you can find them on Billboard. Check that out, where they were talking about how some of the tracks came to be. On the Spotify version is where Kendrick got sent the record for Chains and Whips and said he wanted to be on 2 tracks on the album. But hell, they had enough time, getting this feature cleared for, just 1 track. But anyway, the outtakes for the interview, they talked about how Tyler ended up on the record. They talked about the Nas record. And I like it when other artists pay attention to detail. I can't say that, this was the way of thinking, but Pusha was talking about in the outtakes of the interview that with Jerry Lorenzo, that for the name of the joint with Nas is called I forgot. It's actually the title track, Let God Sort 'Em Out /Chandeliers. And I got to give you all the credit, bro. You called it. It's a beat switch situation, And he said that Pharrell was producing the track, but wanted to do something with a beat switch, And he didn't say this, but it's a la Hit Boy. Hit Boy is known for his beat switches at this point. And then when Pharrell did the beat, he was like, yo, I need 8 bars a piece from both of you. And then Pusha said he heard that and he was like, nah. He said, this is Nas's beat. You know what I'm saying? And he called Nas and he was like, yo, I need you to get on this beat. Sent it over to him. Nas said it was crazy, and then, wrote it over the next couple of days, sent it back. So it's like Nas almost has his own separate track on the album, because it's the Clipse rhyming, and then you get the beat switch, and then once the beat switch, it's just Nas for the rest of the track. Absolutely. And that's an attention to detail if you follow the Hit Boy run, what Nas was doing on beat switches. One of the best beat switches during the run I used for my bar seminar, WTFSMH. So I just like that little intricate attention to detail, man. So if you haven't checked out the interview, I'll say what?
You already at first. I told you a couple of weeks ago.
You did. You called that 100%.
Yeah.
So if you haven't got a chance to check out the interview yet, if you do have Spotify, check that out for sure. The outtakes you can find on Billboard website. And we got more Clipse content coming evidently, man. Like I said, this rollout is insane. Prime late 90s, early 2000s rollout. We found out today in the news that look how they're covering all bases, right? They did the interview with Spotify, and now they're doing a live listening session through Apple Music in NYC the day before the album drops on the 10th. So if you have Apple Music, you can tap in to listen to the album early, live stream out through Apple Music, man. They're covering the Spotify base. They're covering the Apple base. This rollout is insane. I'm telling y'all, if y'all don't go out and support this album, the streams and everything have to match up to the effort that was put up in this rollout, man.
Absolutely. Yo, look, man, I love the rollout. I love it, man. Like everyone eat. All the publications, streaming efforts, everything is out for a throttle. I love it. I love it. We were talking about the Clipse for the past 4 weeks now.
Facts.
And it was like updated news. Every week is something different, which I love because they're one of the best. They're one of the best groups out there. And it's great to see them at this stage in their career get this active in the algorithm when it comes to their music. So I'm loving it, man. Keep it going.
I'm definitely going to tune into that, man. And you know, this album was actually supposed to drop last year, but it was the hang up, you know, Def Jam, you know, with the Kendrick record, they get off Def Jam. They end up with Rock Nation, and then now Rock Nation is doing the rollout. I'm glad all that stuff happened, right? Because they've been slow cooking this rollout to perfection. Absolutely. And once it's finally like served up, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to jump out the window and say the album's going to be a classic or anything like that. But with everything, the product has to be great. With all the effort that's put into it, this is a moment. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll see next week. Got a week left.
No doubt. Moving on, man. Like speaking of the Clipse, they one of the best duos ever to do it. And there's been a lot of talk about duos out there recently. And we even talked about some of the best duos on our last pod. We had a little, you know what I'm saying, discussion of that, you know, the ranking system when it comes to duos. So Complex, they ranked their top 10 duos of all time, you know, so they got in on the mix of that. So I want to run down the list real quick, starting at the bottom from 10 and then going all the way up to number 1. At number 10, we have M.O.P. Number 9, we have the Dog Pound.
Okay.
Number 8, we have EPMD.
Okay.
Number 7, 8 Ball and MJG.
Okay.
Number 6, we have the Clipse.
Okay.
Number 5, we have Eric B. and Rakim. Number 4, we got UGK. Number 3, we got Gangstar. Number 2, we got Mobb Deep. And number 1, we have Outkast.
Who was number 7 and 8?
8 was EPMD. 7 was 8 Ball and MJG.
Okay. EPMD.
And before we go too far with this list, I think it's very appropriate that we properly define. I don't think you could properly define it, but I think it's just whatever your criteria is. What constitutes as a duo?
Right.
We had this conversation last pod because we were like, yo, we put Tribe up there. We was like, would Tribe, you know, be considered a duo? You know, mainly 2 MCs, right, in Tribe. Run DMC as well. Run DMC is a trio, but Jam Master Jay's on the 1s and 2s. He ain't rapping.
Right. But so is Eric B. and Rakim.
Right. Here on this list, we got 2 situations with Gangstar, you know what I'm saying, with Guru, God Bless the Dead. And then we got Eric B. and Rakim. Eric B. ain't spitting no rhymes, and neither is Premier, right?
Right.
I think that causes a little bit of, I don't want to say confusion, but you can't really do a one-to-one comparison when it comes to like just spitting as an MC. Because if like Gangstar put out phenomenal music, but can I really compare what they did to, let's say, you know, the Clipse, for instance, when it's 2 MCs in the Clipse, and I'm measuring what Guru did as one person on the mic for his group. So me personally, I don't like to count, when I'm counting like duos, if I'm ranking them with 2 MCs, I don't like to count the Eric B. and Rakims, the Pete and CL, Gang Stars, I don't like to count those. To me, that's a separate list. I'm ranking them against each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it gets on the other side of things with Run DMC and then Tribe. That's a little tricky too. So with your personal criteria, Sean, what do you have to say about that?
Hold on. We got the super chat real quick. We got
Sure.
Duce,
what's up, bro? Appreciate the $10 super chat. It's a complex list. Throw it in the trash.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, complex lists are trash, but it gets, what did it say? It's provocative. It gets the people talking. But this list actually ain't too bad.
It's not too bad.
The criteria is just not clear.
Right. It's not too bad considering, because I do think that, if I'm looking at this again, Dog Pound definitely that's a good one to have on here.
Right.
A-Ball and MJG for sure. I'm glad that MOP got some love on here as well.
Yes. I would have them higher, but I'm glad they got some love.
I don't think Eric B and Rakim should be on here because Eric B is not rap, he's a DJ. I think there has to be a category for the MC and the DJ, because now you're talking about, the Fresh Prince, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. You know what I mean? DJ Polo and Coogee Rap. You got Eric B.
Right.
I think, Gang Starr. I think that's a whole different, I think that's a different category within itself.
Yes.
With the MC and the DJ, because when it started out, and your hip hop history, that's how it started. The DJ was named first and then the rapper. You know what I mean? I think that has to be a different bracket, if you will, because it's hard for me to say Gang Starr is a duo when you only got one person on the mic. You know what I mean? It's not clear cut. It's not a clear cut thing. Run DMC to me would be probably a duo, because you have the DJ who, I mean, it's just, you got Jam Master Jay as the DJ. He's not rapping. So it's a tricky thing. I think it needs to be more defined as opposed to saying you got two people, because if that's the case, you missed out on several others. You know what I mean? That could have kind of towed that line. I think I'm not mad at 1 and 2. My preference will always be Mobb Deep, but if there's anyone that I would say that's slightly above Mobb Deep, if I had to concede to anything, it would be Cass. My preference is Mobb Deep all day long. I got
Outkast sold too many records. They have the bars and the record set.
I do not disagree. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't argue that. I would just say my preference would be Mobb Deep for what I like, but having Cass over Mobb Deep, I'm not mad at that. I'm really not mad at that. But as far as the other ones, UGK definitely should be on here. Do you think UGK too high in comparison to EP?
No, I mean, but once you get in regional bias, somebody might think UGK deserves to be higher, but I would put UGK's at 4 actually.
Yeah,
I would have the Clipse there, to be honest.
At 4? Oh, UGK?
Personally, but I'm not mad if somebody says UGK should be there, because regional bias comes into play.
Absolutely.
But that
Black Star. You said no Black Star.
Yeah, Black Star's not on this list. I was going to ask you, do you think that CNN deserve to be on here?
Absolutely. Queens get the money. What do you mean? Yeah.
So it's a good question. CNN, but you got to have the work to back it up too. And CNN's work is a little on the limited side, but
it's limited. I would take. I'm not going to say that.
And I don't want to go too far down that road. But
don't get me started on that.
Right. But what I will say is, we can talk all day if it's a 1-to-1 comparison, right? If I say to you, like, all right, 1 and 2, we talked about Outkast and Mobb Deep, the stronger MCs in both duos, like Andre versus Prodigy, who's better all time?
For me, it's a push. But if you want to go 3 stacks, be my guest. But to me,
I prefer Prodigy, but 3 stacks I think is objectively better, right? And then if you're going Big Boy versus Havoc, I think you got to say what?
I wouldn't get too crazy on that, but
but if you're going Big Boy versus Havoc, I think you got to go Big Boy. So 1-to-1 comparison I would have to put Outkast at number 1, Mobb Deep at number 2. But like, if I'm comparing 2 and 3, if I say, okay, Mobb Deep and Gangstar, then I got to look at, like, I'm comparing Guru to, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not fair. So they need to be on a separate list. Gangstar needs to be on a separate list. Eric B and Rakim need to be on a separate list. Like, put it this way, with that same token, right? I'm going by how many people's rapping. Like, people argue with, when you talk about Rakim, I've heard people say, like, yo, all of Rakim's albums are classic until he went solo. Then after that, and I'm like, who the hell was rapping on his first 4 albums? It was just him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm counting everything that he did. I'm not separating Rakim's career like, this is Rakim as a group and this is Rakim solo. Like, Rakim was the one rapping on all 4 of those albums.
Right.
Like, it wasn't a tandem effort as far as that's concerned. Shout out to Eric B and everything he brought to the table, but he wasn't spitting them 16s. It was Rock.
Because Eric B captured the dopeness of New York at that time. He was like really,
he was the aesthetic, yeah.
He was the aesthetic. You know what I mean? From the look, from the swag, everything, the way he dressed, all of that. He was like just a fly one, just sitting there like posted up. You know what I mean? He had that kind of appeal. Didn't rap. And again, I go back to saying that back then, of course, the DJ was the highlight.
Right. It was a totally different time.
The DJ was the highlight. Even the MC would always say, "Give it up for my DJ."
They would hype up the DJ. Yeah, they would. Yeah.
Yep. For my DJ, right? That's what DJ name was first. You know, it was.
Yeah. LL days. He rapping about Cut Creator. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he got a song about Cut Creator, right?
Right.
So I just think that it's difficult for me to say, okay, let's put these guys in that same bracket. I see what Complex is trying to do. They're trying to show some moxie, if you will, when it comes to a list. But it's better than what they've done in the past. That's like, you know, comparing who's the tallest midget, but that's not nothing to go crazy.
What is it with you and midgets, bro?
No, man, they just be looking at me weird.
It's a continuous thread on our pod with you and midgets. It's crazy.
I haven't seen it in a long time, though. I was doing good.
But with all things Clipse, where do you have them ranked?
I think they are. Let's see I think this album could change, but I don't think it pushes them up past top 3.
Right, you're reserving judgment for them. But even if this album is a 5 mic classic, I don't see them getting past top 3 either.
No.
They definitely ain't passing Outkast or Mobb Deep.
No, because I think it's a true push. To be quite honest, no pun intended, between them and EPMD. I think
yes, EPMD is criminally low on this list at 8. They need to be much higher.
Yep. They
shouldn't be no lower than 5.
They should. Yeah, I agree. Because yes, they are better than the Dog Pound. They are better than MOP easily.
Yep. I think they're better than 8-Ball MJG.
I think they're better than 8-Ball and MJG. I just love EPMD personally. I look at EPMD as one of the duo pioneers, if you will, one of the duo pillars of hip hop, and I hold them very high. I hold them very, very high.
We talk about who's rapping. We talk about who's rapping on the track, but do you think in situations like Mobb Deep and EPMD, where, you know, one of the MCs is also the main producer, do you think that gives an edge?
I think it does, because I heard someone was talking about like I think they were talking about like for beat wise, like Pharrell versus like a Havoc in the beats. And
3 Letterman. Yeah.
That was him, right? And shout out to him, man. Shout out to him for sure. And I think he said he will go with Havoc over Pharrell, I think beat wise.
For sure.
That, right? I can dig it, because when I think about the golden era of hip hop, Havoc played an important role in that. He played an important role in that.
Yeah.
Pharrell to me was part of the super producer era that came about.
Different era, yep.
Different era. For me, it's hard to compare them, because Pharrell is more eclectic when it comes to the beat. I think if I'm using that correct, I hope that makes sense, right? He's more eclectic. Although Nori, shout out to Corona Queens, Left Rack City, Queens get the money. even though Nori was one of the first, if not the first, to have Pharrell as a producer, Super Thug, all of that.
It was his breakout moment.
Breakout moment. But Pharrell to me has always been still like more of an eclectic type producer. And he can get into that bag. Don't get me wrong. He got some crazy beats with Jay. Crazy beats. I think Allure is one of your favorites, right? If I'm not mistaken.
It's a top 5 Jay record for me.
For you, right? So not for me, for you, that's just a top 5. I don't hold that high personally, but
you don't hold any Jay record that high personally. Just call it what it is.
I do. I got a few of them out there. Sunshine is pretty high on my card. Sunshine is pretty high, but because of Pharrell's style, I can't compare them to. I can't because Havoc is so gritty. Havoc is different, man.
Right. But I think it gives an added edge. Like when you're ranking the groups, is like if both MCs are pretty dope, but one of them also does the beats and you don't have to get an outside producer, then I think I'm giving you a little bit of bonus points for that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you were to argue with me that you're going to put Mob over Outkast for number 1, what I'm saying is, I think your argument would have to be on like, okay, out of those 4, Havoc might be at the bottom of the MC list, but listen at the beats that he provides. You see what I'm saying? So it's like what he brings to the table, you could argue that's more valuable. So I think that's the hill that I would die on. You feel me?
Absolutely. Because I don't think you can match him up.
Right.
Because Pharrell drop it like it's hot.
Yeah.
You can't beat that.
Right.
You can go to Shook Ones, but it just doesn't bode well in the verses for me.
Right.
And it's a classic. It's a classic. Shook Ones is a classic. You know what I mean? Everything on Hell on Earth. His production on Hell on Earth was crazy. Crazy. But again, you got Pharrell, who's in a whole different era, a whole different aesthetic, all of those things. So yeah.
But nonetheless, he's doing his thing on this album. From what I've heard from the snippets, Pharrell is in his bag. You know what I'm saying? I like Pharrell's other stuff better. Like, you know, when he's doing R&B records or producing for Justin Timberlake or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I like that version of Pharrell. But hip hop is, for me, is hit miss, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to him.
It is.
We talked about last week how he solely produced, which I didn't know that he solely produced Hell Hath No Fury. To me, finding that out bumped him up a little bit in my producer list, because I'm like, okay, he can point to that album and say, I produced that classic Dolo, right? When I'm ranking my producer list, like Just Blaze is one of my favorites, but I can't objectively put Just Blaze in the top 10 because he don't have that album that he can point to. He can point to Blueprint and joints like that and say, I contributed, but he can't point to that and said, I produced that album from top to bottom myself. He don't have that. You know what I'm saying? He has the one-offs like Exhibit C and joints like that people can't compete with. But for me, you got to have that album. Like RZA can point to Cuban Links and be like, that's me, you know?
That's all.
And I did that like 4 or 5 times over, right? So, but Pharrell sounds in his bag on this one. So I think after this drop, this may bump the Clipse up a little bit in the duos conversation. And I think it may bump Pharrell up in the producer conversation.
Let me ask you this, because Pharrell and Timbo kind of have that same appeal when it comes to production. Do you think that they have a much stronger R&B bag than they have a hip hop bag?
R&B, I'm taking Tim.
Okay. How about Pharrell?
But hip hop, I'm taking Pharrell.
Okay. You think Pharrell has a stronger hip hop bag than he has a R&B bag?
Nah, I give the edge like to his NERD, his nerd bag is actually pretty dope. That alternative rock, you know what I'm saying? It's actually pretty dope. He's more even as far as that's concerned. Timbaland is no question. Like we talked about this behind the scenes, like 1 in a Million, 100% Genuine is like one of my favorite R&B records of all time. Timbaland lost his mind on that record, right? So I would say I like Timbaland better as an R&B producer than a rap producer.
I agree.
Hot take. I think Timbaland's best contribution, rap-wise production, is Bubba Sparks' debut album.
I agree. He went crazy on Bubba Sparks' album. Although a lot of like rehashed, it was a lot of. That's when he was like using the same palette.
Yeah,
he's kind of building off of that.
Listen, them beats were crazy.
They were crazy. They were crazy. Oh, that Justin Timberlake joint that he produced was phenomenal. Yeah. I think 100% Genuine to me is his magnum opus.
Either that or One in a Million. I go back and forth.
Dope. 1 in a Million definitely dope. Yeah,
for sure. Timbaland, shout out to Timbaland, even though he doing the AI thing, man. AI is whack. But anyway, more complex lists. You know what I'm saying? So we're halfway through the year. You know what I'm saying? We're in the first week of July. So Complex decided to drop their top 15 verses of the year so far, right?
Yeah.
So you got the visual for that. Yeah. So first off, we got 2 Chainz, his second verse on Bad Choices. 14, we got Little Sim's Free. 13, Central C, Don't Know Anymore. Number 12, Nino Pay, Joey's Story. Number 11, Doechii on Egypt remix. Number 10, J. Cole's second verse on Clouds. Number 9, Joey Badass's first verse on Crash Dummies. Excuse me. Number 8, Malice's verse on Ace Trumpets. Number 7, Billy Woods, Cold Sweat verse. Number 6, JID, Body's verse. There's a lot of stuff that just recently came out on here, like literally. Number 5, NBA Youngboy, a live verse. Number 4, Drake's first verse on Give Me a Hug. Number 3, Pusha T on So Be It, his third verse going at Travis Scott. Number 2, this was a thirsty pick. I thought this was kind of crazy, but the verse is fire. K-Dot on Whips and Chains. We haven't even heard the whole verse, but you know, they put it on there as number 2. Right. And oddly enough, Meek Mill, Proud of Me verse at number 1. That song is fire, and we loved it when it came out. It just didn't have a whole lot of traction, but I think that's fitting. I think number 1 is deserving.
Man, that song, bro, it's crazy. I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but first time I heard that song was at my father's. It was going to my father's burial. That was the first I heard that song, and that song gets me, man. I ain't gonna lie. I was in the gym 2 weeks ago lifting, and I was listening to that song. I damn near dropped the barbell on my face because I just started like breaking down, man. It just every time I hear that song, let me get out of that.
It is different, and I thought that was Meek returning to form, but he didn't. Yeah, he didn't continue that, but dope record. Now, the K-Dot Whips and Chains, like I said, it's definitely a verse of that ilk. I just think it was thirsty to put it at number 2 already when it hasn't been officially released. But that Jin scheme, when he goes up another gear at the end of the verse, the dopest line in there, once again, the Nas influence. He said, let's be clear, hip-hop died again. He's saying again, because Nas was right in 2006, let's be clear, hip-hop died again. You know, most of my profits should go to Rakim. You know what I'm saying? Like the guy, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, I'm embodying this hip hop thing or whatever, but in my death, you know what I'm saying? That guy should really get everything that I earned. He's the one, you know what I'm saying? So the verse is fire though, but I think it's early to put it at number 2. Pusha on So Be It, I think that's only an 8-bar verse, right? Having it for number 3, you know, I think that was a little bit crazy putting it on there. It's only an 8-bar verse, just giving Travis some bars, but it's crazy though. You cried in front of me, you died in front of me, like, you know what I'm saying? It's just powerful, right?
You died in front of me, you died.
Yeah.
Somebody that is wild, man. Like saying that with that kind of tone.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta tell people about themselves, you know what I'm saying? So then Drake, Give Me a Hug. That was a fire verse. JID Bodies, it just came out. Malice on Ace Trumpets. That joint is super fire. His rhyme scheme that he kept throughout there. J. Cole on Clouds, I had forgot about that. But J. Cole always raps at elite levels.
But you just said you forgot about that verse from J. Cole, which is crazy because this was supposed to be the year for J. Cole.
Yeah, facts.
We're halfway through the year, and we're not talking about J. Cole like that.
Yeah. Here's what I'm mad at, right? Joey Badass, they got his first verse on Crash Dummies on here, which is a phenomenal verse, right?
Yeah.
Phenomenal verse.
Yeah.
But shout out to LP, aka Evans, was on our show last week, blamed his whole segment, you know what I'm saying, with the breakdown. He put in the Discord, none of these verses are better than Joey Badass on the finals. I would have to agree.
Yeah. That
probably would be my number one this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it didn't even make the list out of 15.
Because they're not, again, I think some of this list is like, they want to put some.
But if they got Crash Dummies on here, then why not put the finals? You know what I'm saying? That was kind of weird to me.
They do this all the time, though, right?
But it's complex. It's complex. So
they do this all the time. Their list is complex because it has a reason to it. Yeah. Well,
while we still on the complex train, we might as well get this last one out of the way. But they put out another list, since we'd like to thank Jim Jones for making Nas relevant again and make him go viral since since that's what he thinks. Did you see that Angie Martinez interview?
I saw it too early this morning. I wish I didn't. I needed something up, and I saw him crying and sniffling, couldn't get it out.
Listen, I was just cracking up because the name of her show is called In Real Life. And Jim had to get real for a second in real life. He ain't have all that bravado poking his chest out, saying all that stuff in front of like all these other pod guys or whatever. He was like, yo, man, I ain't realized that many people love Nas like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I was wilding, like, so, dude had to be on the humble a little bit in real life. So, shout out to Angie for, doing that interview and putting things in proper perspective, if you will.
For sure.
So yeah, Complex with Nas's name, bubbling right now. They released their top 100 Nas songs. Yeah. And 100 songs is way too much to go through. If y'all want to check those out, go over to Complex. Tell them HipHopTalks sent you. But look through the list. And but I got the top 25 right here because that gets, down to the main thing. So I'm gonna just run through those real quick if you don't mind. I thought the beginning of the top 25 was pretty interesting because we got a lot of non-Nas records that, mostly features or stuff or side stuff. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So I guess they were taking into account everything. Like if we got a verse on it, it's in his top 100 songs. So at number 25, we got his second feature ever. That's Back to the Grill Again with MC Search and Chubb Rock and Tone. That was the second time, we've ever heard Nas after, Live at the Barbecue. So that's at 25. Number 24, we got Phone Tap by The Firm. Dope record. Number 23, we got Calm Down by CNN and, Tragedy Gaddafi. You know what I'm saying? That joint is supposed to be on the War Report, right? Unreleased joint, so dope pick. And we got Large Pro 1+1, I think is a slept on record. We got 21, we got Shootouts off It Was Written. I think that's kind of low. Number 20, we got Last Real Nigga Alive off of Godson. Number 19, we got Live Nigga Rap off of It Was Written. 18, Get Down off of Godson. Number 17, Eye for an Eye, Mobb Deep off the Infamous. Number 16, we got Nas' first single as a solo artist, which is Halftime. Number 15 is Do Rags, off of the Lost Tapes. Number 14 is One Love off of Illmatic. Number 13 is The World Is Yours, also off of Illmatic. I think that at 13 is Criminal. Number 12, we got One Mic, you mentioned earlier in the show, off of Stillmatic, which is one of his greatest records ever for sure. Number 11, Memory Lane off of Illmatic, super dope record. Number 10, we have Ether, where he beat Jay-Z in the battle off Stillmatic. Number 9, If I Ruled the World, his biggest single off of It Was Written with Lauryn Hill. Number 8, we got I was slipping writing this down. I think it was supposed to be Verbal Intercourse. Yeah, I think it was Verbal Intercourse. With Raekwon. Number 7, Nas Is Like, one of my favorite joints, off of I Am. Number 6, Life's a Bitch off Illmatic. Number 5, Made You Look off of Godson. Godson has some heat, bro. And I think that's arguably his best single he ever put out. Number 4, his first appearance ever, Live at the Barbecue by Main Source. Number 3, It Ain't Hard to Tell off Illmatic. You're big on It Ain't Hard to Tell. You know what I'm saying? That's one of your favorite joints, right?
Yeah.
Number 2, we got The Message, and appropriately enough, I think number 1 is New York State of Mind off of Illmatic. So running down the top 25, what do you have to say? Did they get it right? Did they get it wrong? Somewhere in between.
Trash.
He said straight trash.
Right. They do this all the time. They just probably took a bunch of songs and just threw it at the wall and said,
Chat GPT.
Chat GPT. That's what they're using, man. I told you that for the last few weeks. That's all they're using to come up with these lists. It's trash. It's trash, man.
Yo, if you want a better list, a fire list, you can come to HipHopTalks for the list and we'll provide you with that. We actually did, me and Sean been doing this thing for a minute, man. Before we came to YouTube a little bit over a year ago, we were on Station Head doing shows, you know what I'm saying? And one of the dopest shows, shout out to Trife, you know what I'm saying? The OG team in the chat. It was what a time to be alive, right? We did a special show for Nas's 50th birthday in 2023 for the release of Magic 3. So we did a special show called Nas 50 for 50, where me and Sean ranked Nas. We took it to task to rank Nas's top 50 songs. And we did, a listening party leading up to Magic 3 at midnight, and then went straight into Magic 3 listening party. So it was like super dope. Shout out to everybody in this chat now that followed us to YouTube that was there on Station Head. So to kind of revisit that and revive our list circa 2023, we'll probably post that on socials for your consumption and let you take it over to the complex list and compare it and let us know that we get it right. You know what I'm saying? Is our list better than complexes when it comes to ranking Nas's records? You know what I'm saying? But that's something we did 2 years ago. So it's not exactly updated to 25 standards, but, we'd like to rehash that list and see what y'all think.
Yeah, that was a tough list. I think we argued more than we actually got the thing done because we was going back and forth.
Man, about 2.5 weeks, man, we was arguing about that list, bro.
We couldn't get it right because we had something higher than I had it. We were like, man, let's get away from it because we're arguing too much about it.
It was dope to do, but it was real stressful.
Yeah,
it was real stressful.
Shout out to the Station Head crew for real, because when we did it, we actually played it all the way up until we got to the release of the new album.
We had to lock it. It was like a 4-hour joint. We started at 8 p.m. listening party to midnight, and then went straight into Magic 3. It's crazy. Dope time.
Running the streams up for sure. Yeah, for sure.
I think that's our show, bro.
That's all we have. That's all we have. Yo, shout out to the chat, man. Shout out for the love tonight. Shout out to the Discord. I didn't get a chance to tap into the Discord this week. I was out of town, so couldn't get into it. But it's
I was with the big backs in San Antonio.
Do that, man. The biscuit bodies out there, man. Straight up. But shout out to you guys for keeping me in the loop on the happenings of this week. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Shout out to the team. Shout out to Andrew, the producer of all producers. Shout out to Todd. Shout out to Coop. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to all of you. LB, Ep, all of y'all. Thank you. Michael Brown, double. Appreciate all of y'all. Trife, Boogie, everybody. Appreciate y'all. Safe 4th of July. LP texted me. He said, yo, man, tomorrow is Glizzy Day. I'm like, I don't know what that means. I guess he's talking about 4th of July, but LP says Glizzy Day. So
that's wild.
Yeah, I don't know why he's telling me it's Glizzy Day, but I guess. Yeah, shout out to Deuce. Shout out to all the family, man. Shout out to the team, and y'all be safe out there on 4th of July. Enjoy your weekend. We out.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.